Sorry, that's just anti-trans.
So these are two videos from back in 2020, back when J.K. Rowling's infamous manifesto came out. I'm hoping that these are at least like slightly better, like representation of like trans allies, but we can only find out by watching, and we'll see how these people talk about this. So this is Lindsay, Ellis, big channel, well over 1 million subscribers. Death of the Author 2, Rowling Boogaloo. Let's have a look.
I guess I'm going to do something kind of uncharacteristic and pop off a hot take without thinking about it for like 6 months. So I've been seeing a lot of people on Twitter.
Here's the thing. Why do people drink like fizzy drinks when they're like recording themselves? I don't understand it. Like, are you not like burping every other fucking take? But then plenty of streamers will just like burp straight down their microphone as if anyone wants to hear that shit. So I don't know.
A lot of which are in my mentions, discussing Death of the Author and asking how we should apply this to our newly out and proud, incredibly transphobic J.K. Rowling.
Well, she's not dead, so that probably should inform your decision at least somewhat. That might help.
Warning signs were there. You kind of began it was like a few months ago when people were noticing that she was liking some.
I mean, we're already poisoning the well somewhat, just calling her transphobic straight away and not considering it. But the problem this person has is that if she doesn't affirm as terrible everything about this shit, everything about what J.K. Rowling was done, her own fucking audience would have cancelled the absolute mega fuck out of her. Wasn't she cancelled as a racist? I think it was a bullshit cancellation, and it was to do with like Twitter stuff. So I have no idea. She might have been. I don't think she's a racist. But then ContraPoints got cancelled for being envy-phobic, apparently. So
some really hardcore.
Oh, it's Death of the Author. It's a trope of some kind.
Or right-wing turfy tweets. Turf meaning trans-exclusionary.
Right-wing turfy tweets. J.K. Rowling is not right-wing. I don't know where she's getting that from. Confirmation by... Yeah, I assumed it was BS. Usually the cancellations are. I mean, let's have a look. If sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people. How is this transphobic or right-wing? I respect every trans person's right to live in any way that feels authentic. I'd much with you if you're discriminated. Oh yeah, and they say that this one's awful because, oh, we're so discriminated against. Oh, people call me a male and I'm not, even though I am. So yeah, we're not off to a good start. We're not off to a good start.
Incredibly transphobic J.K. Rowling. The warning signs were there. You kind of began it was like a few months ago when people were noticing that she was liking some really hardcore.
This is pathetic, by the way. Caring about like likes on tweets, it's just pathetic. Like, come on, this is just cringe. J.K. Rowling is a billionaire. She's right-wing according to American politics. Well, then American politics are wrong because she is not right-wing.
Right-wing turfy tweets. Turf meaning trans-exclusionary radical feminist. Like, I'm not wild about the term for...
Someone's told her this kind of thing. She doesn't think this. Someone's told her this. And what she actually thinks does not matter. She might not even see that much of a problem with what J.K. Rowling said, but she has to do this. There isn't any other way around it. You say nothing, you risk people getting on your case about it. You try and defend her in any way, shape, or form, you're a TERF. There was only one way this was ever going to go down. I see this as a bit cowardly, to be honest.
For accuracy reasons, but just so we're clear, it is not a slur. So anyway, she was liking some turfy stuff and then she started retweeting it. What's the step beyond showing your slip? It's like her dress got caught in her underwear, like with the most hilarious oops.
How's it an oops when she's saying what she thinks? It's all about capitalism here. Yeah, again, that shows that you're wrong in that case because, not you, Americans are wrong about this because she's not right-wing. And in terms of capitalism, is she even that great a proponent of capitalism? Like, she could have endorsed like Reform or the Tories for the election we had this year, and she chose not to, despite the fact that they were both very friendly with her in terms of their proposed policies for like gender and stuff. She's not like right wing, unfortunately. It's just how it is.
Of a tweet that has ever maybe happened with someone with more than 1 million followers, and then she just doubled down from there. And so,
What were we even saying? I love this truly fabulous Ichabog with its bat ears, mismatched eyes, terrifying bloodstained teeth. In court, Wolf claimed the Facebook post in which he'd said he wanted to fuck up some TERFs was just bravado. I don't even know what the fuck this means.
with someone with more than 1 million followers, and then she just doubled down from there. And so, like, just within the last 24 hours,
This is very Italian footballer so far. This is very my leg's broken because someone brushed you on the arm slightly.
we have her comparing providing gender services to young people with
Conversion therapy. Well, the problem is trans people of color in particular, they're more likely to transition if they're gay. Because it's more of a cultural thing for us Western white people, it's much more even. So there is a through line that you can see as to why it's being called conversion therapy by people like this. And she could actually think about this and actually consider any of this, but she's choosing not to. I gave to one of my ex-friends your channel. They said that I'm right-wing because she has a trans girlfriend and she brainwashed him to advocate for trans kids and shit. Listen, you know, when people I don't know call me right-wing, it just shows to me that they haven't listened to anything that I've really said and are going based on vibes. And for me, I don't go for people that go based on vibes because I'm one of those people you have to get to know. For most people, the vibes I put there initially are probably not the greatest, and you have to kind of bear with me a bit. Like anyone that's that vibes based, I truly think that their opinion is worthless. Not that I'm saying you shouldn't tell me that, by the way, Sylvia, but hopefully you understand what I mean by that.
gay conversion therapy, linking to fringe weirdos and Medium posts, like it's like
Linking to fringe weirdos and media posts. Charlie Evans' piece on detransitioners. Well, what is this? Did you read this? What does this say? Isn't this person all about like reading and stuff?
like some authority. And as is the case with so many transphobes, she is arguing against a position that nobody actually has.
That sex isn't real. Maybe this was honest back in 2020, and she probably got this from ContraPoints to an extent, because ContraPoints, I think her video about gender critical came out before this. And I'm pretty sure she was saying all this, you know, I'm born in the wrong body and stuff. It's metaphorical language and no one actually thinks that. Today, people very much just don't believe in sex. There are people out there. It's not hard to find someone that says that stuff unironically. But it's possible that she was still, you know, rightly or wrongly deluded into thinking that no one thinks this. People do think that sex is not a thing. Hey Cheryl, I hope you're good. He told him to listen and he blocked me. I'm sorry, I'm very divisive. I can't help it. Ruining friendships since 2024, I guess. That's gonna be my tagline. It's gonna be my motto.
No one is saying chromosomes are not real, Joanne. Now, if we wanted
Joanne. God, she is gonna have to like. Well, most of these kinds of people, they make these kind of videos and then they just kind of. They never say anything about it later. They never update it when they realize that actually this is kind of ridiculous. You know what I mean?
wanted to get into that is its a whole other thing, but suffice to say that biological sex is, in fact, much more complicated than the simple X and Y chromosome.
You're not going to explain any of this. Also, is it that much more complicated? The vast majority of people do fit into the male or female category. Sorry about it. Like, yep, there's probably a few DSDs that you could say it isn't really possible to categorize this person. But A, we're talking about such a small number of people, and B, these things happen because of like genetic mistakes. Like, that isn't what the design is at the very least. And sex is binary. Sorry about it.
Trans YouTuber Riley Dennis did a video on the subject a few years ago, so I'll go ahead and link to that, and I'll let her speak
a few years ago. Fucking hell. Like, doesn't that by itself tell you how little the thinking has actually changed? We've changed the narrative a bunch, and the way that we interact with anything is just kind of ridiculous, you know? The way that we interact with stuff, that's what the problem is. And it's always been the same. It hasn't changed, just the theory has slightly. The majority of my trans friends, which are pretty left, don't have an opinion on me being right-wing. Fair enough. I can see why people think I am, I guess, but these people are usually very lazy thinkers, so I just don't really care. It's usually like vibes-based freaks.
To that issue. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about death of the author. So death of the author, when the author...
Death of an author who is not dead. Nice. Classy. Well done, Lindsay. Classy. You're getting those pick-me points in there. Yes, this is pick-me shit. This is actual pick-me shit. For all you idiots that watch me, just so you can call me a pick-me in the comments, this is what an actual pick-me looks like.
A very successful and wealthy author outs themselves as a bigot. Now, it is entirely possible that...
Bigot. Wow. We haven't proved any of that. The tweets that she did show were very nothing. And I'm trans. I should be rolling around with my unbroken leg clasped in my arms right now at how broken it is not. But somehow I can look at those tweets and not really think anything. Wow, amazing.
That you do not care and you genuinely do believe in separating art from the artist. And if that is the case, you fly free, little bird. This video is not for you. Stop watching now. Go enjoy Fantastic Beasts 5 or whatever. But here's the problem with even applying death of the author to this discussion, is basically you were trying to find an academic solution for an emotional and ethical problem. As I said on my video on the subject, I personally believe that you can't...
Well, how ethical is it to invoke death of the author for an author that is not dead?
Really practice death of the author in its purest pure form. If for no other reason than if you are in any kind of like discourse setting, be it academic or Twitter, other people aren't going to really allow it. They will bring the author into it, and that is going to introduce subconscious biases, which is of course going to affect your reading of the text, no matter how hard you try to be unbiased.
Yeah, like I was really thinking about getting into Harry Potter, but I need to make sure I can read it objectively. I need to make sure that I can read Harry Potter without being consumed by my bias about J.K. Rowling because she did the bad thing and she did the wrong thing.
Or whatever. So you can try to practice death of the author, but as long as you're engaged in a community, other people are probably going to bring the author in whether you want them to or not. So I think that part of the reason why there are a lot of really confused emotions about J.K. Rowling going hard turf is because so many people have an attachment to Harry Potter. It was a part of their childhood.
Going hard turf. I wonder what fucking Lindsay Ellis, how she would react, should I say, if she ever watched like Posey Parker, an actual like ultra, you know what I mean? Fucking hell.
It was a part of their adolescence. It is deeply, deeply important to some people. Maybe like 10 or 20 years ago, I would have been like smug about this. But I feel for the Harry Potter fans of the world. Harry Potter, like I didn't hate it, but like...
I don't. These are like overwhelmingly white Western people. They like an author and she said something they don't like. Listen, it happens to all of us, right? I like a band called Brand New. The singer used to like chat up 15-year-olds and shit. I'm not really okay with that shit. It's a bit kind of, it's difficult to like square in your head. You know what I mean? So I understand, but like, we're going insane over this shit. And it's like, she didn't do anything anywhere near as bad as fucking 15-year-olds or like trying to fuck 15-year-olds or whatever the fuck Jessie Lacey did.
Like Harry Potter was never my thing. Obviously, I never talk about it on this channel. You know, like I read the books. I even gave it a shout out in my book, which I'm kind of regretting now. Oops. I just needed a book that came out in 2007. But Harry Potter was blowing up around the same times that Lord of the Rings was having its resurgence in popularity.
Enjoying black metal. True. I'm sure I've seen at least one trans person with like a Burzum hoodie on in my life. Yeah. I mean, separating author and art is like, it's something we all have to do at least once or twice, you know? It's just part of life, and people are just having this spoilt child meltdown about it because this one's about trans people. But people don't really feel the same about a guy that murdered someone or a guy that, I don't know, when I worked in Poundland when I was like 24 or 23 or some shit, one time I served this girl after the Ian Watkins allegations came out, after he'd pled guilty, bear in mind, wearing a Lost Prophets hoodie, and she looked like an emo person. You know what I mean? Like, no one was having these conversations about fucking Ian Watkins. But J.K. Rowling, oh no, what she did was beyond the pale, I guess.
And the relationship of the author to that text.
Yeah, Amaya, the thing with like J.K. Rowling, what I see in general, I don't mean you specifically, I see other people that at her constantly with like bullshit, like criticism, like screaming at her with all this shit. And then it's like, she responds once, and some of her fuckhead fans that are also fuckheads, don't get me wrong, start harassing that person. Yeah, her followers then dogpiled me. And yeah, like, unfortunately, someone like you catching strays. Part of the problem with that is people like your friend fucking pissed off lawyer who can't help themselves but atting her constantly. Sophie Molly is another person that does it. They at her constantly, and then they get a response and get dogpiled, and then suddenly they're the victim. Unfortunately, to me, it sounds like you got caught up in that, which sucks, you know, because if you didn't do anything to deserve it, it shouldn't have happened. And obviously she should be cognizant of that happening. But at the same time, if someone's constantly going at you, at what point do you get to respond?
Next is a complete
whole list of songs, music, games that you cannot listen to now without a severe meltdown. Yeah, it's getting that way. People don't want this kind of culture. People don't want to be scolded for liking a certain thing. You know what I mean? Like, we should just not be pushing it. The Hogwarts Legacy boycott was a fucking massive mistake that should never have happened. And I knew so many people, plenty of people older than me, people in their fucking 40s. They were running around Facebook and Twitter and all that shit, spoiling the end of the Harry Potter game when the boycott didn't work and people just fucking bought it anyway. I'm saying a bunch of nonsense. What did I say that was nonsense? Come on, Marxist heathen granny. I know whenever I ask you for an example of what you have a problem with, you never give me one because you're allergic to giving examples and you just want to spout off saying absolutely nothing in my chat. But just this once, just for me, come on. Listen, I had my lip done. I'm really making an effort today, even though I look insane. But like, please, just an example. What have I said that's nonsense? That's all I want. Just an example, just something that I can actually think about. Was that wrong? Was that right? I'm not sure because you won't give me an example. I don't know what you're saying is nonsense. The nonsense about us complaining about Hogwarts Legacy. I literally fucking knew people doing this shit. I knew people locally, people I knew in real life, people I could very easily go and find by just walking 20 minutes in a certain direction. How are you going to tell me that that is nonsense? This is what I watched happen. Just because your friends didn't do that shit doesn't mean people didn't. Like I said, people in my local community, I watched them do it. I fell out with people because I was saying, this is bullshit. Why the fuck are you constantly throwing hoops out for your friends to jump through or you won't be their friend anymore? It makes it seem to at least some people that trying to be friends with trans people is almost fucking impossible because they're constantly expecting you to do this and now the other. That was my experience. That was people I knew. So I don't know how you're going to tell me it's nonsense. I'm telling you my experience and you're choosing to tell me that my experience is bullshit. Is that what you think? Is that what you think, that my experiences are bullshit? Please tell me.
He's not on Twitter. But J.K. Rowling is not only alive, she's also relatively young and has
Okay, acknowledge she's alive at least, I guess.
Tremendous power and influence and a lot of followers and
Oh, we're so small and like, we're so small and we're so put upon by J.K. Rowling. Also, not even a month later, after the Hogwarts Legacy boycotting, this dude had a massive meltdown over Starfield just because it had pronouns. Guess what? I think that's retarded too. I don't give a fuck if a game has pronouns in it. I've said before, I've played some games that have been pretty fucking woke, but I still enjoyed them because that's just not really what I care about that much. I don't care if my game is a bit soy. If I enjoy it and it's a good game, I can forgive that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know what you're trying to paint me as here. I think the boycott was stupid. I think shrieking about pronouns in video games is also stupid. It can go both ways. It's amazing. Crazy that it can go both ways. Wow. The sensible position is somewhere in the middle between the two extremes, acting like fucking freaks. Wow, amazing.
a lot of money and a lot of control of her intellectual property. And I've seen a lot of takes, and I don't really want to address them all, but basically you can try to be rational about the whole thing and be like, don't support her financially, but the reality is it's a lot more complicated than that. So while on some level there is a sort of broader political discussion on how she wields her influence, really when people want to talk about death of the author in this instance, they want to reconcile their personal feelings about Harry Potter with the author. Like, how do I reconcile the fact that the author of the series is using her power to do such incredible harm, all while genuinely believing that she is doing the right thing? The author. Like, how do I reconcile the fact that the author of the series is using her power to do such incredible harm?
What harm? What harm is she doing?
All
We're not going to say. We're going to continue to fucking talk. Whatever the next point is, just drop that in there. Not even explain. What harm? Tell me what harm. What happened? Like, I don't understand. You seem so, like, horny to, like, shit on me. But you don't even know what almost any of my positions are. You know what I mean? Like, I tell you what, Granny. I'm gonna have to time you out. Because I'm kind of sick of you. Join my Discord and let's fucking talk through what your actual problems with me are sometime. You know? Like, it's linked. You can join it. You can drop me a message anytime. You can come on stream and we can have a conversation. And you might realize I'm not actually the person you think I am. Because I tell you what, some people, because they disagree with me, will literally go on their fucking platform and tell me that they hope I die over and over, as is the case with someone called the Queer Gossip. So, you know, it's up to you. We can actually have a conversation if you want. Or you can continue spouting off in my chat, talking bollocks, and I'll just end up banning you. Oh, I timed out Granny for a bit, so don't keep atting them.
while genuinely believing that she is doing the right thing, with the fact that the series...
Why haven't you considered why it is that she thinks she's doing the right thing? And why aren't we discussing that? Maybe we will in a bit. I don't know if I'll last the whole video to find out.
was so formative for so many people. How do you reconcile this? The answer to that is...
The answer to that is you might be wrong about her.
I don't know.
Because you might be wrong about her. Because you're accepting a framing of her being evil and harmful without really considering the things she's saying. Like, we showed some tweets earlier. Did you dig into any of those? No, you didn't. We showed more tweets. You didn't dig into them either. There was one about a detransition article. Did you talk about that? No, you just suggested it was transphobic that she tweeted it. This is poor work so far.
But I have kind of touched on this subject before a long time ago, and I think you can find it on my other channel. I did a video that kind of...
Yeah, Sylvia, the last live on my video, the last live on my YouTube and my Twitch, I reacted to someone called the Queer Gossip. And several times in this video, because it was just them mouthing over a debate we had that didn't go their way, this person says that he hopes I die several times. It happens, because I disagreed. That's the main contact we had, was one fucking debate that we didn't agree with stuff on. And like, he's all like, oh, you know, I'm for freedom of speech, but you in particular, I don't think you should have it. It's like, okay, let's skip over any of the genuine transphobes, genuine terrible people in the world, and fucking complain about a 1K fucking subscriber streamer. Like, fucking hell.
Touched on a similar topic about Orson Scott Card, who is the author of Ender's Game. And it wasn't my, like, Harry Potter or anything, because I was older when I read it, but it was extremely, well, formative for me, especially as a professional author. In particular, the sequel to Ender's Game, Speaker for the Dead, was extremely influential, and if you're familiar with it, you'll be like, ah, I can see that. Like, even the title of the Axioms End sequel, which is called Truth of the Divine, is kind of, it takes some inspiration from Speaker for the Dead. So I remember a long time ago, people would talk about Orson Scott Card on Twitter, and at first, I kind of was inclined to disbelieve them, mostly because I couldn't really reconcile the fact that the same person who wrote this work, which is fundamentally about the importance of understanding someone or something that is very different from you, with...
Oh, yeah. Max told me to hang myself at one point as well.
This incredible homophobic bigot. And it's not that this guy just has some bad Twitter opinions. He openly advocates against gay and trans people, and he uses his not inconsiderable wealth to do so. And
no, we don't have any examples, etc., etc. I'm used to this now, though, because the thing is, when you're like a pick-me ally type, you don't need examples and stuff, because you're preaching to a choir. You just need to say what they want you to say.
unlike Joanne, he, for the most part, has a good sense to keep his bullshit off Twitter, but he is still mostly on his bullshit and was on Ben Shapiro's channel as recently as 2 months ago. Orson Scott Card is still alive, and there is a difference between a dead author that maybe has a checkered past and a living one who is using their not inconsiderable wealth and power to advocate against marginalized groups.
That's ridiculous. And she hasn't, like, maybe there'll be an example here, I don't know. Like, there was some tweet just now.
Maybe has a checkered 2 months ago. Twitter, but he is still mostly on his bullshit and was on Ben.
Oh, it's just because he was on Ben Shapiro's thing. So we're just doing guilt by association. This is extremely lazy. Like, at least show, if you're going to call someone homophobic, if you're going to call someone bigoted, it should be fucking mandatory that you show an example on there on screen, or play an example right there after you say it. That should be the minimum. That should be the fucking basic standard for calling someone out, surely. Unless you're just turning something back on themselves, maybe, but I'm not sure.
Ben Shapiro's channel as recently as 2 months ago. Orson Scott Card is still alive, and there is a difference between a dead against marginalized groups. And this is one of the most insidious aspects of J.K. Rowling doing what she's doing. She knows that because of her wealth and influence, she's going to be believed more than, the lived experience of trans people and decades of medical.
The lived experience of trans people. What does that even mean? What's the lived experience of a trans person? I guess you can ask a trans person, but what they tell you is only as good as their word is. How good is their word? Who fucking knows?
Research. And I know there are a lot of people who are perfectly willing to compartmentalize. And again, I see separate art from the artist constantly. And you know what? That's fine. You know what? You do you. Again, this discussion is not for you. This is for the people who are trying to figure out how to reconcile having Harry Potter in their past and in their lives with the way she is wielding her power. And sort of the way that Orson Scott Card's open bigotry has influenced the way that I read the Ender series. I think people kind of know that knowing this about the author is going to affect how they read and engage with the Harry Potter series. And if it was formative for them, if it was a big part of their childhood or adolescence, or even if it is still a big part of your life, that is going to influence the way you remember it or the way you experience it. And while you can absolutely control the way you read or engage.
Is there a bigger first world problem than an author or musical artist or artist that you like turning out to be what you consider a bad person? Is there anything more privileged than having the time to complain that someone's artwork that you like and that you maybe grew up with is something you feel you can't consume anymore? Just consume something else. If you're like a band and the guy's been doing Nazi shit sometime in his past, there's probably other bands that sound quite similar. If you don't like the fucking Wizarding book because of J.K. Rowling, just read some other fucking Wizarding books, like Jesus Christ.
Engage with a text, you cannot control the way an author uses their money and influence. Even case in point, right now, I am using my relative extreme micro influence to advocate against what J.K. Rowling is advocating for. And if you disagree with me,
well, you're just saying she's bad. Like, have we had any real substantive points against her? These assholes are giving the trans community such a bad name. Yeah, I agree.
Bye, Felicia.
Also, hi DVA, I hope you're good.
See, normally I work off a script, so this is very unnatural for me. As you can see, I like my ring light and my degree over there. See, I'm a professional. I know for a lot of people there would be no forgiveness.
On my channel description, I just couldn't change it for ages. I changed it recently, but it probably needs changing again. I changed it in the stream description.
For them, and I can understand that. I think on some level, I would have to agree. But as it stands right now, all signs point to this is where her train is going, that she's not going to change. What is probably going to happen is...
Harry Potter is my favorite book series. My childhood best friend and I met through Harry Potter. No one will convince me to stop engaging with something. Yeah, of course, yeah. That doesn't make you a bigot. Like, I don't know. What I found when I spoke out about like the boycott and stuff, which was a year or two ago by now, like I found that like my cis friends would like get it because I knew loads of people who were really into Harry Potter and clearly are not like transphobic or bigoted people. And to me, it's like, well, just enjoying media that you've enjoyed for a long time. What's the problem with that? You know what I mean? But some people, that's not good enough. And to me, that strikes me that those kinds of people want to control people. I don't want to control anyone. And like the cis people would all get it, and it would be the trans people that wouldn't. And those that weren't like screaming at me were just fucking being pussies because they knew I was right and they knew that it was pathetic and that they were acting like children. But it was something they weren't prepared to listen to yet.
She and her social circle is going to become more and more insular, and she's going to distance herself from people that she used to work with, like the entire cast of the Harry Potter movies. And
yeah, when you speak out against something you care about, especially when it's controversial, like people are going to disagree
more
with
insular,
you.
and she's going to distance herself from people that she used to work with, like the entire.
And by the way, I'm not saying this about someone like Daniel Radcliffe because I don't know if it's true in any particular case. But when someone comes out the way that J.K. Rowling did, there's definitely like attention to be gained. There's definitely pick-me points to be gained by defying her because you used to be connected with her. That's going to get you attention. That's going to get you like clicks and stuff. There's definitely a case for someone to do that, you know, deliberately. I got into an argument with a former friend who said JKR deserves to die and have her grave desecrated. Jesus Christ. I told them to die late mad. I wouldn't regret that at all. I would be proud of that myself, because that's ridiculous. I don't even like Harry Potter. I read the second book. I watched the first 2 movies and it just didn't do anything for me. It wasn't my thing. So I don't know. I shouldn't have found it easier to like hate J.K. Rowling for the rest of my life, but I'm not that kind of person, I guess.
Entire cast of the Harry Potter movies, and she's gonna get love bombed by.
By the way, have you liked the stream? Have you liked the stream? You should like the stream. You should consider looking down from the stream and clicking that like button. Like the stream. Also, check the links in my description. We got Discord. We got some music that I've made that you can listen to. Trans pride cannot censor me on the internet, thankfully. And you can support the stream. You can super chat, etc., etc., etc.
Not only people who agree with her, but people who probably have much more far-right beliefs about trans people than even Rowling does. I have seen people argue that
Far-right beliefs about trans people. She didn't script this, I'm guessing. She's just kind of like popping off. It's all just the buzzwords. We've got all the buzzwords. Where's the like actual content? Where does she actually explain any of what she's saying?
that once a text is in the world, regardless of how
I think both PhilosophyTube and Harry Potter are boring. In that case, Cheryl, we have something in common. There we go.
much the author tries to influence people's reading of it once it's out there, the text no longer belongs to them. And on a certain level, I do agree with that. However, there are few creators that are as deeply entrenched in the world they created as J.K. Rowling. Like, Ezzy, for instance, let's say that George Lucas goes off the deep end and, like, chains himself to a Confederate statue that is slated for removal. He's not really got anything to do with Star Wars anymore, but J.K. Rowling is Harry Potter. She has made sure of that. And this is sort of a unique franchise in that you can't really consume and advocate for it without indirectly doing the same for the author. And she knows this, which is why she's kind of decided that this is the hill she's going to die on. She has a lot of power in.
She's decided that this is the hill she's going to die on. Wow. I can't with this video. Listen, 1.24 million subscribers. She didn't have that many 4 years ago, over 4 years ago, to be fair. But like, Jesus fucking Christ, over 2 million views. This is dire. This is terrible. Like, fucking hell. This is like terrible. I just love how Rowling tweeted praise for Stephen King and then, like, promptly, like, within a day, deleted those tweets when he made a statement supporting trans people. It's important to her, I guess. I don't know. Try seeing the world through someone else's eyes. I can't believe Rowling's Patronus is Maggie Thatcher. What the fuck that means, I have absolutely no idea. Calling J.K. Rowling Joanne is the funniest thing in the world to me. I bet it is. If I call her Lindsay, is that also the funniest thing in the world? Because that's her first name. I can't be asked to watch this anymore because this is cooked as fuck. I assumed for some reason that this might be a more thoughtful entry into the allies against J.K. Rowling genre, but I was wrong. This is not a good video and it sucks.